Hello everyone, Meteorologist Michael Wilhite here with Southern Indiana Weather. Thanks for logging on to our latest long-range update. We are sponsored today by Metal Magic in Washington. You can give Chad a call at 698-8555 for all of your paintless dent repair needs. They do a fantastic job, folks, and they're also PDR Nation certified. So be sure you give them a call and be sure to tell them Southern Indiana Weather sent you. All right, I'm just going to start off with the 10-day for now and get to the good and the bad. Lots to talk about in tonight's long-range video. The good is the next couple of days, really, Tuesday and Wednesday. Absolutely gorgeous weather. After that, though, well, the bottom starts to thaw out of the thermometer in a sense, at least for this time of the year, as you can see on into the extended outlook. Good chance of rain on Thursday and Thursday night, especially, and we'll talk about those rain chances here in a second. Beyond that, look at how cold it's going to be on Saturday. Normal is around 72, 73 or so for this time of the year. We're going to struggle to make it out of the 50s over much of the area. On Saturday, the further north you go, the lower into the 50s you'll end up for your highs. And then after that, no 80s in sight. In fact, we've got another cool blast potentially coming mid-month to talk about. We'll get to that here in just a second. Lots to talk about in the long range, though, but let's talk about our next rain chances. Again, the next rain chances will really come on Thursday. A weak frontal passage tomorrow for part of the state, but on Tuesday, I should say. I'm recording this, and it is Monday night, but nothing really to worry about. Our next big system is here, and it comes through really during the overnight hours. You can see as we move on Thursday night into Friday morning. As you can see here, let's back it up just a little bit. Here's 18Z on Thursday. So this is 2 p.m. on Thursday. Rain starts to move into the area, and you can get an idea that there will be some isolated storms and showers early on into the area, but the big rain starts to move in later that evening. In fact, it looks like it's going to be mostly the heavier rains will be during the overnight hours as the front moves through. Here's what the GFS says. You can also see that the European model has a very similar idea. GFS, European's a little bit weaker with this low pressure. You notice on the GFS it's a closed 996 low up to in the Great Lakes region, whereas with the European, it is not a closed low by any means. A bit of a weaker low pressure system, but still very powerful front. Canadian has that same idea, very similar to the Euro. But what you notice about all of these is decent rain chances bound. And then once those are out, cloud cover will probably stick around for a few days over the weekend and maybe some spotty drizzle here and there, but that's pretty much about it. Once that goes away, though, then we've got, you see the red lines here. Okay, let me get back into this, and what you'll notice is, if I can go out of here and not make it go on here, you notice these red lines. This is what you're seeing here is upper level charts mixed onto the surface map. Since what's going on here is that northwest flow again, and that northwest flow that brings the cooler air down from Canada again, and it gets it pretty chilly around here whenever we get that northwest flow, and that is exactly what we are going to have. We're talking major cool down coming, and potentially an even bigger one down the line. All right, let's talk about rainfall. Again, the models are not excited about rainfall. GFS gives an inch in parts, anywhere from a half inch to an inch. Euro, even up to 2 inches or so in parts, but it's a 1 to 2 inch rain over much of the area. Canadian is much less. If you average it out, roughly an inch or so or less for most of us, I think, is what we'll expect out of the system. We're not looking at a deluge by any means, but some of us could get some decent rain totals. Now, after this, again, as you saw in the 10-day, we've got a cool blast coming on. And in fact, if we just take a look at the GFS ensembles for the next 16 days, there you can see it. Once we get through Thursday, boom, you go right down here, only up into the low 70s on Friday. The GFS actually takes us to the mid-60s on Saturday. It doesn't seem very reasonable to me. With all the cloud cover that we'll have around, I think we're going to struggle to make it out of the 50s. And then it just stays cool as far as the eye can see. And I do think that we have a shot of even having our first high temperatures in the low 50s, maybe even 40s potentially by mid-month. I don't think that will be the rule that sticks around for a while, but we do have a pretty impressive system potentially moving in. Typhoon Fanfone out in the Pacific Ocean headed toward Japan. Once again, it's a tropical storm right now, but it will very likely become a typhoon, potentially even a super typhoon as time goes by. Here's what the Joint Typhoon Warning Center puts it out. It's currently located just sort of to the east, southeast of east northeast here of Guam, but you can see the track takes it right towards Japan. It'll eventually recurve, and that's why it's important to us. Here's where the models take it, and you can see sort of the blue line is sort of the mean of all the models. What you see out of it is it recurves again, and know this, we've talked about this before. Whenever you get a recurving typhoon like this, we call this the typhoon rule. 6 to 10 days after it recurves past Japan and moves up to us, basically what it does is gives us a pretty decent sized system moving into the Midwest. Usually leads to a sharp trough, a sharp cool down over us. And basically the reason why it's not the typhoon that we end up getting, it's sort of the remnants of the typhoon interacts up here with the jet stream, and the polar jet just sort of gets all jacked up and puts a kink in it. That kink comes and downs and dips over us, and we are the beneficiary of what Canada has bottled up. So with that in mind, the strength of the typhoon is going to determine how jacked up the jet stream gets. So here's pretty much where the tropical storm is right now. Not an overly impressive one yet, but it will be. Here's what the GFS does with it, and watch how this just sort of blows this up into really just super typhoon status as it heads towards Japan. You can watch this puppy recurve and then out to sea as it starts to weaken, but then it'll interact again with the jet stream, jack our weather up again. Notice what's behind it, though. Watch this low that's down here continue to develop, and look at this. It develops it into another very mature, potentially super typhoon as well. Is this a guarantee? Absolutely not, but this one's an even stronger one. So that could be potentially two major typhoons over the course of this month that could end up recurving and really throwing the jet stream for a loop. That could make October an extremely interesting month. I said October would likely be a month of up and downs. It usually is whenever you're in a transition of a season, but this one certainly looks like it could be a major up and down month. Now, why does the strength of this typhoon matter? Well, here's the reason why. Let's take a look at this. What you're looking at here is temperatures about 4,000 feet up into the atmosphere over Canada, and the first blue shadings and that red line that you see here, this is the freezing line, and you go above that into the blues and you've got freezing temperatures at about 4,000 feet up. Translate that down to the surface, and that's bitterly cold surface temperatures as well, obviously. So in other words, what we're saying here is we have really cold air bottled up in Canada. If you can get the jet stream jacked up enough that starts to dive down, where does that cold air get displaced? It gets displaced into the United States whenever it's pushed down. So, how do we know if it's going to be displaced? Well, it usually is underneath of a typhoon. The stronger the typhoon, the more the jet stream gets the kink in it, and the stronger the displacement, the further south the displacement, I should say, is probably the better way to word that. One way that we can measure this is with the AO index, stands for the Arctic Oscillation. When it goes negative, cold air from Canada is available to be on the move, and it is going sharply negative. The different squiggly lines are all ensemble members of the black line is the observed AO index, and then the red squiggly lines here are the ensemble forecasts, different computer models, and they are all hinting that it goes sharply negative over the coming days. So that means cold air is available to be moved down from Canada. It's bottled up long enough, and it's going to be on the move again. If you get a positive PNA, that is a trough in the jet stream that gets down over the eastern portion of the country in our area, and that can displace the cold air. So you put a negative AO with a positive PNA, and you have a recipe for a nice little Arctic air intrusion from Canada coming down in. And folks, that's exactly what we're seeing. You do notice, though, some ensemble members are saying no, the PNA stays negative. Some are saying the PNA stays positive. Right now, you're going to see this all over the place because the models do not understand how to handle super typhoons like this early out. They're going to vary on typhoon intensity. The intensity in the modeling is going to vary on what the effect is long terms in the forecast as well. Bottom line is there's going to be a lot of model mayhem taking place over the next couple of weeks. But I do think, just based on understanding the science of meteorology, mid-month it looks like we're going to have a pretty strong Arctic air intrusion that could move down. And if we take this back here and we can sort of time it out, And what we'll say is we'll go with this typhoon. Here's where it starts to recurve back, and it's leaving here. So let's say it's leaving here about October the 6th. So if we go back into our October calendar here, what's 6 to 10 days later? Well, this would be the 12th to maybe the 16th or so, something like this. So this week here in October, from maybe the 12th to the 18th, roughly in that time frame is where we are going to start to see that cold air intrusion come down. And by the way, this model on the Arctic Oscillation goes out to the 15th, so you can see it's already saying that cold air is on the move, and many of the members are already saying that positive PNA spikes. So that's starting to get the hint of this potentially jacking things up again, and it will continue to get those hints. GFS ensembles haven't really caught on completely yet because it still has us with temperatures here in the 70s. We'll watch and trend this over the coming days, but I suspect this will end up changing. I think these 70s that you'll see here for maybe October 12th through the 14th here on this, those are probably going to go slowly down into the 60s and probably down into the 50s. If this ends up being a major typhoon, likely we will not get out of the 50s for highs. I wouldn't be surprised if even some 40s, upper 40s get mixed in there. And I don't think that we're going to see the first frost of the season this coming weekend. I think temperatures in the low 40s are about as low as we're going to go this weekend across southern Indiana. Maybe a 38 or 39 in an isolated spot, but that's not frost territory either. Also, this time of the year, the other thing to keep in mind is how do you get a frost? It's by radiational cooling. You need a very cool and clear and calm winds type of night. The cloud cover lets essentially keeps the heat in. So when you have a crystal clear night and you've got temperatures that dip down to maybe 36 or below, you can actually get some frost develop on the surface of things, and that's usually how we get our first frost of the seasons. I don't see that happening this weekend yet. We'll trend it and see if that's a possibility, but right now I don't think lows are going to get that cool enough, for one, and for two, I think cloud cover sticks around a good deal this weekend, which would prevent that anyway, which is a good thing because we don't really want to frost this early on. But later on in mid-month, whenever we get this sharp blast of Arctic air coming in, I could very easily see our first frost coming out of that. Not a guarantee yet, but just understanding the science of meteorology helps us to see these things. And I'm just sort of pointing out some of these things that could happen a little bit later on in the month. We'll watch that in the modeling as it takes place. And again, you saw that there is a potential even for another typhoon to jack up the jet stream after that. And that would probably be yet another week after that. That could be another reinforcing shot of cold air. By the way, people have asked me, when do I think the first flakes of snow will start to fly? Last year, the first flurries we saw in the area towards the Louisville side was October 24th, but here in the southwestern Indiana side, it was October 25th. So late October is when we saw the first snowflakes fly last year. Didn't accumulate because it was too warm to stick to anything, but it was the first flakes. It was really November before we saw anything accumulating. But certainly with these Arctic air intrusions, if we get reinforcing shots in, who knows, maybe later in October we could end up seeing that pattern start to switch over again. Would not surprise me with what I see coming down the pipes. Start preparing for it. Get the fall jackets out. Get those, take them out of the closet. Get them washed and freshened up and whatever you need to do, folks. The long sleeve weather is certainly coming back. In the meantime, enjoy these next couple of days because we have beautiful sunshine as we go to southernindianaweather.com. Go to my website here, folks, and you can get the updated 10-day forecast anytime you want. 82 for your high on Tuesday, 83 on Wednesday. Enjoy this. It's the last 80s potentially of the year. Maybe, maybe not. I'm not going to say that yet. But it's certainly the last, it's a dying breed. We'll put it that way. 80 on Thursday with those storms moving in. A strong storm late Thursday night. Maybe not out of the question, but I don't see severe weather being a big threat with this because the storms move through overnight. But then the sharp cool down occurs. And again, a bit of sun on Saturday with plenty of clouds and very cool, 59 for your high. I've only went 44 across the area. I could see some near 40-degree temperatures for some of us in some of the low-lying areas. Again, frost not a concern, so I think we've got plenty of cloud cover to keep that in check, and I don't think we're going to get into the mid-30s, but we'll trend that. Then it only rebounds to the 60s for much of the 10-day period, with rebounding back into the 70s before we get that next major cool down come in, and we'll trend that and see how it comes. But again, I do think that we are looking at a sharp cool down coming mid-month again. That's as I see it right now, folks, and we'll keep an eye on this, and we'll let you know as things develop. I'm meteorologist Michael Wilhite for Southern Indiana Weather. Have a great day, stay safe, and we will see you next time. Take care.